Good morning. I'm John D'Alessandro, the Association Secretary of the Firefighters Association of the State of New York. We appreciate you taking some time to be with us today and help us get the word out about our upcoming Recruit New York weekend. And while we're happy that everybody is here today, we're also a bit frustrated. We're frustrated because for the 14th year, we have to do this to try to get the word out that most every fire department, volunteer fire department in the state of New York, needs more people. Just as a point of reference, since the early 2000s, there were about 120,000 active volunteers across the state back then. We're down to 75,000 to 80,000 now. At the same time, the call counts have gone up in every department. The complexity of the calls has increased. And frankly, the volunteer fire service is used as a strike team of sorts. When there's a blizzard in Buffalo, volunteer departments come from Long Island, the Capital District, to go assist them, and vice versa. So our mission is growing, and the number of people we have to accomplish that mission is unfortunately going down. The Firefighters Association, for almost 2 decades, has realized this problem and has done a number of major activities to try to combat that dramatic decline. Everything from a statewide communications outreach campaign that you probably have seen, or hopefully you've seen, our tagline is "There are Fire in You," to what we're here to talk about today, which is our annual Recruit New York weekend. That's 2 days every year in April that we ask every volunteer fire department around the state to open their doors and invite the community in. We ask them to do this for 2 reasons. First and foremost, hopefully to get new applicants, but also to reconnect with their communities. Volunteer fire departments are comprised of friends, families, neighbors of people in every community. And oftentimes people will drive by that fire station going to and from work or going shopping around the community and perhaps wonder what goes on in that building. So we're hoping that anybody that has the slightest little bit of curiosity this weekend will take some time, stop in, talk to the volunteer firefighters that are there protecting their community, and hopefully become one of them. We've got a number of speakers here today. Across the street, you're probably all aware that there's a few things going on right now in the Capitol, in the Legislative Office Building. We're very proud and happy to say that we have many friends and many strong supporters of the elected officials that work across the street. And one of them is here with us today. Assemblywoman Patricia Fahy is one of our strongest supporters. She's always there when we need her, whether it be to come to a press conference like this or to help us on the assembly floor. At this point, I'd like to ask the Assemblywoman to come up and say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you so much, and thanks to all of you. Let me just start with a huge thanks for those who do volunteer. And I have to say, it's really more than volunteer work. It's a passion, it's a calling. I also happen to go to Veteran Honor Event months every month that our county exec hosts here in Albany County, Dan McCoy. And almost every month, it's veterans, often those who are now deceased, but it's veterans who came back from various wars, various service to our country. And it's uncanny how many came back and then became volunteer firefighters. So that passion for community service, we cannot thank you enough. Again, it's more than volunteer work. You are often putting your lives on the line, and it is that calling, it is that outreach. I am so proud to represent the town of Guilderland firefighters, the town of New Scotland. I, for many years, represented Bethlehem. So many volunteers there, been to so many of their events, and it's truly a dedication. And so what you are doing each year, and I know the numbers have been getting worse despite the events, despite the outreach, but we have to keep reaching in to talk about how important this is and how integral volunteer firefighters are to their town, their community. In some ways, they're so much the heart of the community. Often the events that are held at our firehouses throughout the Capital Region are just events for the Make-A-Wish Foundation or for community members or those you may have, children you may have helped save. from fires where it's fundraisers for them. So it's just, there is so much more to do. There's so much more beyond just this volunteer work. It is extraordinary community service. Yes, we desperately need more people to understand that need to give back. And I commend the governor for increasing the stipends. We were thrilled to see it, and I know we gave that a lot of promotion, because even that can help with recruitment. But we need to do more, and happy to join forces with you on a whole host of areas. We just reported out another bill, although it was mostly it was existing legislation to provide tuition assistance tuition assistance reimbursements for those who are volunteer firefighters and are taking additional courses. We want to see that grown, because it's another incentive to give back to your community, and the state, showing we have your back. We're going to help you with increasing your education. Often it's into the health sciences, to become physician assistants or EMS workers and more. So that's not my phone, but but it might be a fire call for all we know. So thank you again. It's so much more than volunteer work. This is a calling. I know so many of you, and it's always with such extraordinary pride that you put on those uniforms. And so honestly, it's a tremendous honor for me to stand here with you and be able to publicly thank you for what you do and call on others to join your ranks. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate your support. It wasn't a fire call, because if it was, there'd be nobody left.
Right.
As I mentioned, we're very lucky to have tremendous support from elected officials on all levels of government. And certainly right here where we're standing today, Albany County Executive McCoy is one of them. And I'm also very proud to say that he's a brother volunteer firefighter. So he truly understands what we do every day and what we're facing in terms of recruitment and retention. He couldn't be with us today, but he has sent his counsel, Jeff Jameson. Jeff, if you'd like to say a few words.
Good morning, and I'm happy to be here on behalf of County Executive McCoy, who's a firefighter with the airport and with the city of Albany, and continues to be passionate about firefighters and what we need. And you know, it was even this past year that Albany County committed $1 million to training facilities throughout Albany County for volunteer firefighters and paid to use as well. But it's important. It's important to build these in different communities and rural communities as well, to encourage people to go, encourage people to gather as not just a place for training, but also as a place for community. Mm-hmm. And that is the thing that we need to talk about, right? We need to talk about what it means to be a volunteer. And this isn't just a challenge that's facing volunteer fire departments. It's a challenge that's facing so many different volunteer organizations. And I'm so happy that Assemblymember Pat Fahy, our next senator, is here today, because I see her at so many different events, so many events that, you know, we go around to and really engage the community, engage them to become engaged, right? We see so many people behind here who are of similar age, and we don't have enough people that are younger. It's the next generation. It's engaging them. So I ask all of you, take your kid along with you. Take your son, your daughter, and bring them to these events. Go out into the community, touch people's lives, because once you do, your life will be touched even more. And so join with us, help join the fire departments, get active, get out there, all right? Be brave. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's important to be clear about the significance of this problem, because contrary to popular belief, 75% or more of all the fire and emergency response in New York State and in the country is done by volunteers. People see, you know, Backdraft and they watch Chicago Fire every Wednesday night, but the reality is completely the opposite. The foundation of public safety, of fire and emergency response in this country, is done by volunteers. And we need more people. One of the unique things about a volunteer fire department is that there are dozens and dozens of different jobs. You don't have to be a responder. You don't have to be jumping off a truck, pulling a hose towards a burning structure. We are small, medium, and large businesses. And if you're an accountant, if you're a bookkeeper, and you've got some time to devote to a community organization, we'd love to have you. If you're a person who enjoys fundraising, and you've got a couple of hours on every few weekends, we'd love to have you. So, there's kind of a misnomer out there that, there's nothing I could do to support my volunteer fire service. Yes, we'd love to have you sitting in the trucks next to us responding to calls, but if you can't do that, we'll take whatever time and talent you have and put it to good use. We have a number of representatives of the fire service here, as you can see by all the fancy uniforms. I'd like to start off by introducing our president of the Firefighters Association, Ed Tace, who will say a few words.
Thank you, John. And thank you for taking the time this morning to listen to our needs. Again, this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, is our 15th annual RecruitNY weekend. We ask you to get involved. Please stop in and visit your departments. But most of all, if you stop in and visit your department, thank those individuals, those men and women that are in that station, giving of their time free of charge to protect you and the community that they serve. That's what the volunteer fire service is all about. I know we talked a lot about legislation and where we're at. ASA and our legislative team with Jill and Kara there, they do an awful lot of work for us across the street, pushing for our benefits for the volunteer fire service. These individuals get paid nothing for the service that they provide. It's one of my passions in my presidency is to see that income tax credit increase from $200 to $800. In 2006, we got the income tax credit at $200. 18 years later, it's still at $200. Cost of living's gone up. It costs money. Gas has gone up. And these volunteer firefighters put their own gas in their cars to respond to emergency scenes. So it's very important that we give those individuals something in return, something very small, to say thank you for giving up your time and risking your life and your families. I can honestly say, I'm in Buffalo, New York, and in December when we had a snowstorm, we gave up our Christmases. We gave up our Christmas Eve, New Year's, to go out and protect the communities with 67 inches of snow. And so it's important that we know what these individuals give up also of their time and their dedication to the volunteer fire service. But thank you again. The passion is out there. We need more help, and we need help on all avenues. But please stop in and say thank you to those that are serving. Thank you.
In addition to providing the fire and emergency response in every community, almost every community outside the big cities in the state, volunteer firefighters also provide a significant economic benefit to the citizens of New York. We commissioned an economic analysis just about a little over a year ago, and it showed that in salaries and benefits alone, the volunteer fire service saves $3.8 billion each and every year to the citizens. If you had to have an all-career force and then factor in the purchasing of the trucks and the buildings and the relocation of certain buildings and the modifications of certain buildings because career firefighters work shifts and they have to live at the firehouse for 24 or 48 hours. When you figure all that in, plus the salaries and benefits, it comes out to about $4.7 billion a year. So you can see that not only is there a significant public safety component attached to the volunteer fire service, there's an equally significant economic component attached to that. And when President Tace mentions one of our signature pieces of legislation that we've been fighting for 20 years for, you can see that raising that tax increase from $200 to $800 is not really an expenditure on the part of the state. It's an investment. It's an investment in a group of people that give of their time and their dedication and sometimes put themselves at risk, and also returns $3.8 billion a year to the state of New York. So I think that's a pretty good deal. At this point, we have some of our brothers from the New York State Association of Fire Chiefs. Bruce Heberer is the CEO. Bruce is over here. And Timothy Bowl is one of their directors, and Tim is going to come up and say a few words.
Thanks, John. We appreciate your commitment to us. The press really does a lot for us to help us get the message out. One of the things that John and Ed both kind of really hit on is the fact that the volunteer fire service, the emergency services of any community are really the lifeblood of that community. You look at the things that they do within the various communities, in addition to going to emergency calls for service. They handle and assist with many of the things that communities need. And we're in crisis. We're in a tough place right now. It's already a known fact, the number of emergency responders that we've lost over the years, because they've either had other commitments, they've had other things occur in their life, but they unplugged from the emergency services. And that's something that we desperately need. And Recruit New York is one of those campaigns that helps us across the board, across the state, look as deep as we can into our communities and try to drag, in some cases that's a tough word to say, but we try to appeal to the people of our communities to come and support what their community needs. Because when they're in trouble, somebody's got to come and help them. And that somebody, in 9 times out of 10, is the emergency services. On their worst possible day, who do they call? They call the fire department. They call the emergency services. They call somebody to come and make their worst day better. How can we do that? By being part of it. I've been a volunteer firefighter for over 45 years. I was a fire chief for 15 years. Believe me, we collectively, as this group right here, can certainly share with you horror stories and success stories, and they are numerous. The success stories come from people that are dedicated in the community that want to help somebody else. And that's really what Recruit New York is. It's the emergency services opening their door to the community to say, come help your community, because that's what your community needs. So take an active part in Recruit New York, because it's a monumental, beneficial, and an opportunity to get together with some of your neighbors who you may not even know. But take an active part in it. Volunteer. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Tim. One thing that's undeniable in the emergency services is that when somebody dials 911, not showing up is not an option. To be a little humorous, if we have to crawl on our hands and knees with buckets of water, we're going to show up at someone's door. But it is getting harder to do that. There are many departments, even right here in the Capital District, that are having trouble getting enough people on a truck at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning to respond to an emergency. What happens then, again, we don't have the option of not showing up. The neighboring departments have to pitch in. We call it mutual aid. But that puts an increased strain on those departments, because now they're not only responding to their calls, they're responding to the neighboring fire department calls. So it's unfortunately a very vicious cycle. The old saying that many hands make light work is especially true in the fire service. This is a full contact sport, and despite all the great technology we have, if we don't have trained, dedicated men and women to put that technology in their hands, it has little to no value. Again, you can see we're united here today on behalf of the fire service. One of our other brother associations is the Association of Fire Districts of New York State, and its president, Don Corkery, is going to say a few words.
Only a few, right? First of all, let me say it's an absolute pleasure to be here and support FASNY, President Tace. This is job one. What they're doing, Recruit New York, is job number one in the fire service. Absolutely. And I said this down on Long Island a few months ago, you can't fight fires without firefighters. What they do, what FASNY's doing, and getting Recruit New York, getting people to our firehouses. And I'm the perfect example. I'm 70 years old. I've been in the fire service for 52 years. I need a break. I still have the passion, but I don't have the body. Trust me, I can tell you. It's that simple. As you mentioned, I'm the president of the Association of Fire District. We represent about half the fire departments on New York State, and it's about 894. But this is absolutely 100% job one, recruiting New York. And once again, I applaud FASNY for taking this on and getting people in our firehouses. I'll keep it that short. Just remember, we can't, it's neighbors helping neighbors is what the volunteer fire service is, and we can't fight fires without firefighters. Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Thanks, Don. To my right is Gene Perry, our first vice president and soon to be president of the Firefighters Association. Gene, if you'd like to say a few words.
Thank you, John. Good morning, everyone. Recruit New York is a very important program that we're running. As John said, we're down to about 75,000 volunteer firefighters across the state. FASNY recently conducted an analytics survey of about 1,000 people that were not volunteer firefighters, and 2/3 of them said that they would come down to their local firehouse and see what's going on, and if they could help, they will. So I think that says a lot to our own communities and what they do. Recruit New York is a very important part of this, and we just hope, I believe there's about 300 signed up, John, right now to go across the state to open their doors on either Friday, Saturday or Sunday, or both. So please go down to your local fire departments and see what's going on. Thank you.
Thanks, Gene. And that's really the message that I'd like to end on. Recruit New York is coming up this weekend. Firehouses around the state are going to open their doors Saturday, Sunday, or in some cases both days. We just want anybody, everybody who has had the slightest little curiosity, the slightest little thought about becoming a volunteer firefighter. We want to encourage them, take a few minutes, go down to your local fire station. Hopefully you can put some gear on, you get a ride in the fire truck, but talk to the people that are there. I can honestly say, not only from my own personal experience, but from many, many people that I've talked to over the years, it could be the most rewarding few minutes you ever invest in yourself. With that, I think we're pretty well done. If there's any questions. Yeah, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.